Thank you, thank you. It's a great honor to have received this.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
Welcome back to the Mordecai and CJ arc. We're back after a small muscle man detour back into the main course of today's meal. Of course, the playlist is in the description, pinned comment, anywhere I can put it. Can camping be cool with Mordecai? Also plug in my Discord. Also shout out to Benson_dancing who made this opening meme. His links are below as well. We start out with Mordecai and Rigby doing something that people who generally go outside do. Check the weather. What weirdos.
Hey guys, do you need any more? Shh, this is it.
Didn't much overwear, it's gonna be hot. Try that?
Then I don't need a jacket. Thanks, Arthur.
Upon learning that the weather is going to be ideal for camping, Mordecai and Rigby start hyping up their camping trip, hinting that it is a tradition that they specifically do. I bring this up because it's a common theme within these videos to have Mordecai make Rigby do something against his will, like in Do Me a Solid. Here is no different. It sets up the same expectation that this is going to be the night Mordecai makes his move, and doesn't. Now, as most of us know, he doesn't make the move until it's far too late, so when it comes to the first Margaret-centric season 3 episode, it's still rather early in learning this cycle. As Margaret and Eileen come over to speak to them, Margaret reveals she's
Never been camping before.
and Rigby denounces her, and Mordecai punches him, and I don't get why. I absolutely hate it when someone camps with a sniper and pops people and no one notices them until it's 20 kills too late. We don't like campers here.
I bet your boyfriend won't like you going on a camping trip with two dudes.
Ugh, what boyfriend? I'm not seeing anyone right now. Guys are jerks.
God, I know, right? Guys are the worst.
That is the face of someone who's going to fold on his next 2 to 3 relationships. I do think that's a clever way to introduce that aspect into the writing without Margaret coming out to say it, because it also doubles up as Rigby's way of trying to find an out for them to spend time together. However, little does he know a young Eileen really likes him and would stop at nothing to continue to try, because we'd go on to learn that Eileen is a Chad if I've ever seen one. It follows into a montage, quite early I may add, replacing the usual montage that comes a bit later into the episode, of all of them having fun, except Rigby, who looks like he ordered a Happy Meal and they had no toys to add to it. Stay strong, brother.
Where y'all headed today?
Oh, hey, where's this secret?
We're just headed up to the campgrounds.
Oh, Pine Ridge or Valley Fields?
Why don't you mind your own business, pal? I'm a cartoon star.
All right, well, here's a map. Stick to the roads and trails.
Great, thank you.
The storytelling is so simple and none of it goes to waste. Everything from them watching the weather report to them using this car, to Eileen having an experience, to them meeting this ranger, every part of it will come up and feel important within the story. That's one thing you kind of have to hand to Regular Show. It doesn't have a lot of fluff within its episodes, but everything is in and it can't be taken out or it'll affect the quality of the story. As they reach the entrance into the secret campsite, they're greeted with a sign that says restricted, no public access. Now, I am not here to insult your intelligence or your eyesight, but when I turn on my no simp filter, it actually says, why would Mordecai tell the coffee girls whose job it is to be friendly and welcoming about a secret time-honored tradition? Yeah, I know, right? The episode hides tiny details like that. I kind of got this filter off of Amazon. Another tiny detail that gets overlooked is how the dynamic of these episodes generally work. Just as Mordecai and Rigby are speaking a lot to each other, Margaret and Eileen usually do the same, which is quite realistic, given that the respective duos here are usually spending more time with their friends at work and not potential love interests. This is shown when Margaret looks at Eileen first to get approval, not knowing that she'll do anything to be around Rigby and also loves camping to not pass up on this opportunity and trust the boys. However, if she's not going to question anything, I will. When Rigby goes to open a gate and the car turns into the path, who opens the door for Rigby to get in? It certainly wasn't Eileen.
Not bad, right?
Mordecai, it's beautiful.
Now, I don't have too much negative to say about this episode, except for this part. Story-wise, the episode doesn't do too much wrong, and even some of the tiny inconsistencies that I've pointed out and will point out towards the latter half of this episode, it doesn't ruin the flow or make the story less clear. I'm only highlighting this scene here because a forest leaves a lot to be desired, pun not intended. I know Regular Show takes place primarily within a park, and the park always looks great, but there's something so dead about this forest that I wish wouldn't really call it beautiful. Maybe it's the fact that there isn't enough trees to cover all of the beige around. Maybe it's how the scale and detail of the trees don't make it look like enough time and budget covered making this look nicer. Maybe it's because this entire scene is just so bright. I'm not sure, but when you look at its peers, Gravity Falls, Harvey Beaks, Adventure Time, all on their own respective networks, they treated the Force in different ways, and it looks good. What else isn't that good is that Mordecai trusted Rigby to pack everything, and guess what? There's no matches for the fire.
Give me that. They're not in here.
You forgot them?
What do you mean I forgot them?
Don't fight. They probably just fell out of the bag or something.
It's cool, guys. I got it.
Eileen starting the fire with essentially nothing leads into a pack of wrapped hot dogs hitting Eileen's face. Hey, don't you dare start with your innuendo. The reason this happened is because with the scenes preceding this, we see the first hints of Rigby and Eileen's relationship becoming a bit more romantic. Also, it's a subtle nod to Meet Your Maker or season 1 episode, where hot dogs played an important role in that episode. After a great day eating, hiking, swimming, and meeting what looks to be a very curious deer, it's now night. Now, I'm gonna spare all of you guys because absolutely no one wants to see me overanalyze every single sentence Mordecai is about to say in this next scene, so I'm gonna break it up into my 3 favorite moments, for better or for worse.
I think that's a Ursula Merger right there. See, like the handle of the ladle?
It's called Ursa Major, not Ursula Merger. And that's not even it. That's Orion.
Oh, and she didn't even have to look up.
Shades of Brian Griffin, Mordecai tries to flex his intelligence and gets something wrong. I will say that the recovery was pretty good, but I do find it funny that throughout this arc, you don't really see Mordecai flex his intelligence unless it's around Margaret, under the premise that she probably likes complex, deep guys, which to this point, if you've ever seen the guys that she dates, it's kind of all over the place. I also do like the seeds being sown for Rigby and Eileen. They're great. I can't wait for season 7. The second moment revolves around Mordecai making small talk and asking Margaret about college. As you may or may not know, Margaret is in school while working at the coffee shop. When appealing to Mordecai's experiences in school, he has a look of either shame or disappointment in oneself, saying that it's different, and we don't get too much about Mordecai's days in school. There was Bad Portrait, a season 5 episode where Mordecai would have to repaint a ruined painting and have to break out his art school experience, but for the most part, he doesn't really talk about that either. I bring these 2 things up because when you think of Mordecai, you don't think of a person that flexes his intelligence or speaks about art school. He's a completely different person around Margaret, and that's why throughout all of these episodes so far, I have no problem calling him a simp. Not because I think that he would do this to everyone, but that Mordecai that's not around Margaret is a completely different Mordecai. That person isn't a simp, but this one is. But then the third line,
So, you don't think all guys are jerks, right?
Wait, did you hear that?
What?
Now the main problem area is up here. All of this going on up here is what's causing me the most physical discomfort.
this man is really shooting his shot post-breakup. And listen, I have no problem with shooting your shot with someone post-breakup, but you don't start it off with, so you don't think all guys are bad, right? It's such a lame line. You're just opening yourself up to problems because what if she says, yes she does? Then you have to say what you actually mean, which is that you're speaking about yourself. So skip over the appetizer, let's get to the main course, Mordecai. It's such a simp. Obviously, he blows his chance once more, always waiting for the right opportunity, not even realizing that the right opportunity is in front of him. And we'll get around to how I know it was the right opportunity in a second. But we have a weather update.
Weather update. It's raining.
Mordecai didn't pack a tent. Rigby didn't pack a tarp. But Eileen, the Chad, packed backup because she tends to not only think of herself. And through that process, we learn a few things. 1, Mordecai locked the keys in the car, which is why this man isn't mature enough to handle anything above a go-kart. 2, and this is gonna sound a little bit messed up, but I found it funny that these anthropomorphic animals are struggling with making a shelter. And I know what you're gonna say, easy for you to say, Poe ripoff, I bet you never had to make a den before. And listen, shut up. And 3, the ranger finds all of them and he says that he has tools to help them, but doesn't pick them up and take them to an uncovered area. He just leaves them in the rain.
Take filthy hands off branches.
What? Mordecai!
She doesn't say, guys, she says Mordecai. When she was in danger, she called out to Mordecai. She runs into Mordecai's arms, and he doesn't even realize he had his chance, he didn't even know it. However, we get to the big moment. The deer that was following them around during their camping trip has come for his vengeance. Fueled off of his love for the forest and abandonment of his mother who, quote, went to the city, don't ask, plans to hunt them down for ruining the forest, in his opinion. I don't mind him as an antagonist, as we've seen in caffeinated concert tickets and Mordecai and the Rigbys. The episode can be good with thin antagonists of the day sort of setups, because as a serialized show, it's about the adventures you have with these characters along the way, which may involve seeing characters for one time only. As you'd expect, a chase scene follows, which is typical of a regular show episode. Not as fun as Muscle Woman because Starla was awesome, but it was fine here nonetheless. The only thing I can probably say that may have improved what was going on here is if the episode took more time to show them actually ruining the forest in a way that they couldn't explain. So trash everywhere, leaving plastic or fishing lines in the water, things like that. Now that would have given him more of a point. Or go the opposite way. Have Eileen or Mordecai be super environmentally friendly and portray the deer dude as someone who just wants to be alone in the forest and is used to them being from the outside as an excuse. This episode doesn't really lean towards either of these extremes, and I do think that would have provided a better dynamic than being in the middle. Speaking of being in the middle being an issue.
Over there! Look! Someone's coming!
Another weird part is how the ranger was so nonchalant about the fact that there was clearly a supernatural being within the woods. And you know what? I think this ranger ran over his mom. Let me explain. So it makes sense for a ranger to block off certain spots within the forest, but it doesn't make sense for said ranger to see an anomaly and think that it's in any way something that you would regularly see in the forest. And given that said anomaly never saw his mom after going into the city, clearly with the way that they frame it, what he experienced, his mother experienced as well, a car crash. And that's why the ranger blocks off this section, because he's aware of what's over there and he doesn't want others to find out his misdeeds. Even the ranger's partner sees something strange here and blows it off. He killed his mom, you can't tell me anything different. But that's just a theory, an alpha theory. The ending is also quite weak. The second half is kind of weaker altogether, but basically the episode ends with everyone excited about the trip, optimistic despite everything going wrong, and Margaret thanking Mordecai for pushing her to go camping, something she wouldn't have done without his guidance. Camping can be cool, it's pretty good, not as good as Muscle Woman or Do Me a Solid. It's definitely a step down, a tier lower than those episodes, but it's not a bad episode in its own right. The next episode is Slam Dunk though, which admittedly, that's not really much of a Margaret-centric episode, but it is memorable for reasons that we'll get into. Until then, let me know in the comments down below, can camping be cool with Mordecai? Until then, take care. Alpha out.